So now what we're going to do is take some of what we've learned about Fourier, we're going to put it to work, we're going to synthesize some sounds, try to create some, as best we can, some realistic instrumental sounds. And the way we do that, I have the recipes all kind of set up already. These are called patches. That's what you call this when you use these chords to patch in different parts of the synthesizer to do different effects. One of the questions you're going to have is, if you look at the signal up on this screen, you're going to say, but that doesn't look like a square wave or a sawtooth wave or a triangular wave. What happens, those are perfect waves and they sound very artificial if you use those to recreate instrument sounds. So what we're doing is adjusting some filtering. We're playing with the frequencies. We're basically modifying the Fourier parameters on the synthesizer to try to depict more of a real sound. And what happens, that really changes the structure of the sound wave. Now the basic square wave is embedded in there, the triangular wave is embedded in there, the sawtooth, they're all embedded into the wave. It gets a little hard to see because we start adding a lot of other aspects to it. So let's go ahead. And I'm going to do 4 today. I'm going to do basically the main instrument groups. I'm going to do the flute, I'm going to do a trumpet, a clarinet, and a cello. So let's go ahead and we will do the flute. So I set it to a triangular wave, I set it to a high frequency, so I just listened to the one oscillator we have going in, the one main source of sound. I adjust my filters, and this is everything I'm doing is adjusting the Fourier parameters. I'm adding a little bit of modulation, or it'll sound like vibrato, like the person is actually playing the instrument. Got this set up. And let's see, we have a pretty good setup here. Now when I play this, I have a microphone hooked up to a speaker, and that's what we'll hear coming through and displaying on the screen. So this should be a flute sound. Oops, I did forget one thing. I forgot my patch cables. I'm patching it through a voltage-controlled amplifier on the synthesizer, and that helps make it more realistic to the extent we can. So let's see what we have. Now I can increase the amplitude. Nonetheless, it looks kind of like a triangular waveform when we do that. So that was our flute setting. Next we'll go to a trumpet. The trumpet's going to use a sawtooth wave, and if you'll remember, I mentioned a sawtooth is typical of a brass type instrument. So I'll set up for a sawtooth. I'll take it down a little bit to a lower frequency. Check all my knobs to make sure they are correct. And again, like I say, we're adjusting parameters. It's a little different setup than we had before, and you would expect that with a brass instrument to be a little bit different. And from a patching perspective, I'm going to take this cable, is still good. This cable needs to go over to here. And I believe we have it. So this should be a trumpet. Let's see what it sounds like. It's a little slow coming on. That's called attack. when you're talking about synthesized music. So I'm going to try to cut that down so it comes on a little bit sharper. So we see the waveform. So that sawtooth is hidden in there. You have to look really close for it, but it is in there. I'll try to bump the volume a little bit so that we can try to see the sawtooth a little better, or I'll adjust the sensitivity here. So now we'll get a little better response. And I'll adjust the frequency down and see what happens. It'll be a lower pitch, and we'll see if we can get a better display on the waveform. So, that's more of a trumpet type sound. The next one, we're going to go for a clarinet, and that's based on a square wave as its foundational element with all those harmonics that we saw from the Fourier series. So, for the clarinet, we move our patch cable here. I'm sorry, we move it here. We move this one here. And I believe we are set up correctly on that. We'll set this to a square wave. We'll make it a wide square wave. We'll drop the frequency down. So this will be more of a, more toward a bass clarinet type sound. We have these set correctly. We'll adjust our filters. Again, we're adjusting the Fourier parameters when we do that. Put a little bit of modulation into it. And we're very close. Just a couple more adjustments. We should be able to go now and sound like a clarinet. So it has that characteristic clarinet sound that we call timbre. We can tell it's trying to sound like a clarinet. And it's got basically the square wave is underlying all this, and we've adjusted some of the other parameters to do this. So one of the things we can do is if I go to the frequency domain, if I play it now, if I hold a note down, this graph is showing us the Fourier parameters, not the waveform, but the amplitudes and the frequencies. And if you look, you see spikes coming up, and those are all the different sine waves being added together. And you see those change as I go up and down in frequency. So we'll go back to our signal view. So that was a clarinet. And our last one we'll simulate a cello, a string instrument. So let's take a look at that. Our cables are correct. We'll still use, in this case, they call for a square wave, but they want the square wave pinched down, so it's a very tight, a very small square wave. And this one actually uses a little bit of something called portamento, which causes it to slide between notes. So we're going to add a little bit of portamento. We've got 10 and 10. We put this one here. We got this. Stepping our way through. And our last little adjustments are coming in. So I've got it set up. This should sound like a cello. and the vibrato, in my opinion, is too deep. So we've got it balanced. The portamento is between two notes. It's a slide between two notes. So you really notice it if you try to play fast, because it's not meant to be played fast when you have portamento on. And if I do it like this, and I'll back off. So there you have it. We have taken the synthesizer by adjusting the wave shapes and filtering the different frequencies. We've been actually using Fourier's technique to filter things out, develop it the way we want it, and try to get the sound that we really prefer to get. And that, in a nutshell, is how we can do synthetic sound based on the work by Joseph Fourier.